Hello, everyone. Hello, developers. Hello, builders, and welcome to our live stream. In today's stream, we will be exploring Web3 technology, Ethereum blockchains, Ethereum-based blockchains like Metis, and we're going to be deploying an NFT contract on Metis blockchain using ThirdWeb. So let's get started. First, if you guys are unfamiliar with the Ethereum blockchain, it is a decentralized open source blockchain known for its smart contract functionality. It is imagined as a global computer where all the transactions are immutable and transparent. So yeah, of course, about us, I'm gonna be presenting the tutorial. My name is Rami. I'm an engineer in the Web3 space. I come from a cybersecurity background, and currently I'm leading a developer relations team in Metis. And I've worked on a variety of projects and integrations in the crypto industry, focusing on wallets and ownership, DeFi tools, and Web3 analytics, among others. And with me, we have Sierra from ThirdWeb. Sierra.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kira. I'm a developer relations engineer at ThirdWeb. Yeah, it's Kira, don't worry. Everyone gets it wrong, not a probs. And I do a lot of educational material building. So that's writing docs, writing example apps, just building with ThirdWeb in general. And I specialize in writing smart contracts. I do a little dabbling of front end, been doing front end today actually, but mostly smart contracts. That's how I started. And I got into the Web3 space about a year ago by doing hackathons. So I feel like my perspective on education in the space is very fresh. So I am new to the learning curve. So I enjoy helping other people get into it as well.
Thank you very much, Chiara. Sorry if I misspelled your name at first. And thanks everyone for joining us. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about the Ethereum blockchain. What is it? Like I said, it's an open source blockchain. It's like the global computer known for decentralization. Transactions are transparent and immutable. And so on Ethereum, we have the EVM, which is the Ethereum virtual machines. This is the runtime environment. The EVM is responsible for execution of the smart contract that we deploy on the blockchain. However, we have some challenges on Ethereum network. If you have already used Ethereum, you can tell that transactions are not really cheap because of the low transaction per second throughput. So the gas fee has to be high sometimes so that the network is not spammed. And so here comes the need for scaling solutions where you would take some of the transactions off of the Ethereum blockchain. And then here we would come to a concept known as layer 2 scaling solutions. Now, layer 2 scaling solutions are like a secondary framework or a protocol that is usually built on top of the Ethereum blockchain or an existing blockchain. The goal is to increase transaction speed and efficiency. Now, Metis is one of the leading layer 2 solutions. We are currently an optimistic rollup, but we have a lot of exciting things coming soon. And why deploy on Metis? It has currently the lowest transaction fees, and we are among the fastest layer 2 chains with executing transactions. So it is a great opportunity if you have like games we are a chain that is open to all DeFi protocols. All like our goal is to accommodate Web3 economy, be like the go-to Web3 economy. We would be accommodating everyone and not charging like so many high fees, high gas fees. All right, and so this is for why to build on Metis. Like I said, speed, efficiency, and low transaction fees. Now, what to build? When we say build on the blockchain, we talk about decentralized applications. Now, the decentralized app is an app that is like the simplest decentralized app is comprised of two main components: the front end layer and the smart contract layer. So the smart contract is the code that is deployed on the blockchain, the code that is running on the blockchain. And the front end is where the end user interacts with this code directly. And permissions in most decentralized applications, users can without permission can interact with any contract. So here we can see in our architecture here that we have the browser, which is here like the client side, the user, and through internet connection you would connect to a front end, all right, which is rendered by your browser, shows you how like the web page must look like, all the buttons, everything. And the front end would have a functionality that allows your browser directly to interact with these smart contracts without having to go through a third party in the middle. As you can see, there is no third party between the front end and the smart contracts. So making it here, like usually there would be a backend if you are dealing with a server architecture. With the server architecture, there would be a backend instead of the smart contracts. And the deal here is that the backend's code can be changed. The backend can can stop working sometimes, can fall into maintenance. But smart contracts are just immutable. They are there forever on the blockchain. So there is nothing stopping you from interacting with the smart contract, even if you don't have the front end and you had some of the technical experience required, you can still interact with the contract without the front end. Now, this is the anatomy of a simple decentralized app. Next, we're going to be talking about transactions. So what is a transaction? A transaction is the state change on the Ethereum network. Is just like when you send money from yourself to someone else, to your friend, for example, you're changing the state of accounts. You're changing your balance and you're changing your friend's balance. So this is a transaction, like in its core. Now, a transaction is not just sending some money or sending some value. A transaction can be a lot of things. A transaction is an interaction with the blockchain and a change in the data as well, not just the state of balance. The transaction can interact with a contract or can even deploy a contract to the blockchain. So that's why everybody can just send the transaction to a contract and interact with it. A call of function, for example, in ERC20 tokens, which is like if you know of USDT token, which is has some very the underlying code is very simple. Like you would have some a function called send, which transfer, which if you call it, you would transfer some tokens from your account to the recipient's account, and you don't need the front end to do that. You can just sign a transaction and send it to the blockchain. Nobody can control this transaction. Nobody can sniff. Nobody can change anything about it. There is nobody controlling the blockchain. Nobody can change how your balance is changed, except for you, the one in charge of your private key. So this is how we can interact with the contract. Just call a function. That's how in the front end we would be interacting with the contract. We will see later on the ThirdWeb UI. For non-fungible tokens, we're going to be deploying an NFT token or a non-fungible token. They are type of a digital asset, and they represent ownership or proof of authenticity. And they are unique, unlike cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or ERC20 tokens, where every unit is the same. Here we have every NFT, every non-fungible token is unique or different than the other one, and usually has a different ID even. So the components of an NFT, NFT usually can include metadata like a name or description, and usually a link to an image or a file, sometimes a JSON file that includes some information about this non-fungible token. And these files are usually stored on the IPFS, which is the decentralized storage system. Most of the NFT images or metadata is stored on IPFS, but some of them are stored on web servers, which is not the best practice, because sometimes you would like the web server can fall down, can stop working, the file can be deleted or changed. So it's better to just upload to IPFS usually. And yeah, here Kiara is going to take over, explain about the NFT drop contract that we're going to deploy.
So the NFT drop contract is slightly different from other NFT contracts that we have available on our pre-built contracts. There's a couple of different ways to build contracts with ThirdWeb. You can either build them from source yourself, writing the source code, or you can deploy our pre-built contracts. And NFT drop is one of the pre-built contract offerings that we will be deploying in a second. But basically, it just enables you to create a load of NFTs that your users can then come and claim. And this basically means that when I am defining this set of NFTs, I'm actually just predefining the metadata for these NFTs. I'm not actually minting them upon creation. This is what we call lazy minting. We have a glossary where you can go and look at these terms at a later date in our portal if it becomes a little bit confusing, because there are a few technical terms to get your head around. But lazy minting basically just means I predefine the metadata. I define what the image is going to be. I define what the description, the title, etc. is going to be beforehand, and then people can come and claim those NFTs based on claim conditions that I set. This will be much more obvious when I do the example in a second, but the other contract offering that we have is NFT collection, and this means that when I define my NFTs, they are actually minted upon creation, and they are minted to an address, and then they can be transferred or sold on a marketplace at a later date. So you can see that there are just two different contracts for different use cases based on how you would like to distribute your NFTs based on what you are using it for. But yeah, that's just a little like summary of what NFT drop is.
Thank you very much. For questions, we will answer them a bit later. We will have a Q&A session where we can answer all your questions that are related to this tutorial and related to like starting with Web3 development in general.
Would you like me to go ahead and do what ThirdWeb is and do the NFT drop?
Sure.
Okay. So ThirdWeb is a complete Web3 development framework, as you can see on this slide here, and provides literally everything that you would need to build Web3 games and apps. And that means that we store everything from the smart contracts through to your front end, that structure that we were talking about earlier. And it makes this structure super easy and intuitive, because the curvature for learning to develop in Web3 is not the most fun. So this is a nice little diagram of what the structure of our tools look like, because we do have a wide variety of tools. But yeah, so we offer components for your UI, your front end, and hooks. And then we have lots of different SDKs for different languages. We have infrastructure solutions, and we have different ways of building smart contracts, like I was talking about earlier. We have pre-built smart contracts, and then we also have the ability to build with our Solidity SDK if you wanted to build your contracts, specific to your use case, and then CLI tools for deploying without you exposing a private key or even using one, or dealing with RPC URLs or any of that kind of stuff. We basically deal with all of the complexities for you to make it really streamlined, and you can focus your time on the stuff that really matters for your project. So I'm going to just head to, so this is the thirdweb.com, where you can see what all of our products are, and you can head over to our docs to, actually I'm going to put that on night mode just so it's a little bit less stark. But yeah, you can see all of our products and like dig into them a little bit more, read into how you could use the components in React, etc. But what we're going to do is we are going to deploy, an NFT drop. So I'm going to head back over to the landing page, thirdweb.com. And I'm going to go to my dashboard. And this is basically just my way to see all of my contracts that I have deployed beforehand. I can look through them all, and then I can have a front end to interact with all of those smart contracts. It just makes it a little bit easier. If you head to Explore, then this Explore essentially is like an app store, but for smart contracts. So I can read through all of these, decide which one I want to use. I can select it, and then I can deploy an instance of this contract. This contract is completely owned by me, and like defined by me. ThirdWeb doesn't own any of the contract. It's all completely yours and free to use. I just want to make that super clear, because I often get questions about that. So yeah, so let's deploy an NFT drop. So we've selected NFT drop, and I'm going to click deploy now. And I have selected, because Metis is on our like already defined chains, you can just select Metis girly testnet, and I do have funds, I believe. Let me just check that, but yeah, I can see here. So I can just click deploy now. It's that easy. So I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to be super creative and call it NFT drop, upload a file, and I got some pretty little stars that Samina has provided, because she's amazing. Put the recipient address, which is just my address. So that's just like the secondary sales. I will receive those. I'm going to receive 0% of the sales, and the primary sales is going to be also me. And then the platform fees, I'm going to also set to 0. So if I wanted, people who are using my site, I wanted to have fees for that, then I can do, but I'm not. So I'll set that to myself. So these are just the constructor parameters, which I'm filling out here. And then this is the contract metadata, the metadata associated with my contract. So I filled in all of those parameters. I've selected the chain that I want to deploy to, and I'm going to click deploy now. So this is going to trigger 2 transactions for me to sign with my wallet. The first one is going to be deploying the contract. The second one is a gasless message to sign. So there are no gas fees to have to send. And that is so that you can add your contract to the dashboard. This is your first time deploying to Metis. There'll be a 1 extra, I believe, transaction, and this is just deploying our infrastructure contracts and things like that. So don't worry if it says 3 transactions, it's the same sort of thing. So I have successfully deployed my NFT drop contract, and you can see this nice little UI for my contract. So I can see the contract address, so that if I want to use that to build a front end, it's right there for me to use. And you can see all these different tabs, which we'll go through in a second. Feel free to stop me if we go over time, by the way, get a little bit into it sometimes. But yeah, so there's a little contract checklist here to make sure that I'm doing everything that I need for my NFT drop. So the first thing it's prompting me to do is upload NFTs. So on each contract, our SDKs can recognize what industry standards, or what we call extensions, are on your contract, and then provide you useful tools based on these detected extensions. So this contract is an ERC 721 contract, therefore it has an NFTs tab. And this means that it gives me easy ways to claim, upload, burn, transfer, all these kind of things, my NFTs, because I have implemented that interface on my contract, on the contract side, and the SDK has detected this. So we can go ahead and upload an NFT. So I'm just going to call this my first NFT because I'm super creative, and select another beautiful star. So this is just filling out the metadata for my NFT. But like I was saying earlier, when I hit lazy mint, this is just predefining the metadata so that someone can go ahead and claim and therefore mint this NFT to themselves. So I am going to leave the description and properties, but you could add in extra properties here. If this was in gaming, it could be like a cat, and you could give it, I don't know, what could you give cat? Age, or a car, give it speed. And then I'm going to lazy mint this NFT. So you can see this is super easy because I'm doing it from a front end. No horrible command line, long command line, what would you call it? Like command line. You don't have to type in a command line tool. Like a nice long one with RPC URLs and private keys. None of that. I'm doing all from my front end. So we can see now that this NFT has been lazy minted. Great. So then someone could go ahead and claim this NFT, but right now they can't because I haven't set a claim condition. So what you need to do is head to the claim conditions tab, which is here because we have detected that it has the claim phases extension on it. So you can head to the claim conditions tab and we can add a claim phase. All of these different options basically just mean, do I want anyone to be able to claim? Do I want anyone who's on a certain allow list, only the owner, only everyone except some people on an allow list, but I'm just going to select public. Again, if this is a little bit confusing, it is detailed in our docs if you would like to read more. And I'm going to let anyone claim from this drop, but I'm only going to say that you can claim one. So in this drop, you can only claim one NFT at a time. I'm going to start this now, and I'm going to charge them 0.1 Metis. And then you have to click Save Claim Phases, or it doesn't do anything. And this will trigger a transaction. And as you were saying earlier, transaction is literally just writing, you are changing state on the blockchain. So that is all that's happening here. And we have successfully saved the claim phases. So as you can see, this was super easy. I have now created an NFT, but let's claim this NFT. So I can hit this claim button, and I'm now going to claim that NFT to myself so that it's in my wallet. And this basically just means now that the NFT is being officially minted to my wallet. And so for some reason, I didn't, the claim phase didn't save properly, one per wallet. Oh, I don't know why that didn't work. I think it's because I've set it so that you have to send 0.1 Metis. Let's edit that just because I don't know why it's not working. Let's just save that claim phase because I think there was something wrong on that side. Default price. Right, I'm not sure why that's not working because normally you have to say, if it's saying in here that it's 0.1 Metis, but then when I open it, it's 0 Metis. I will get back to my team on that. Samina, if you know, then please feel free to jump in. But as you can see, it was super easy for me to deploy my contracts, to lazy mint an NFT, and then it would be super easy to claim the NFT. But yeah, so if there are any questions, then please let me know. And if there's anything else you want me to go through, then I am happy to do so. But if you did, actually, one thing I did want to mention is that if you head to the build tab, actually, I didn't go through the tabs. That's also one thing I wanted to do. So you can see an overview of your contract. The build tab essentially gives you easy ways to integrate this into your project. So if it was a front end, so you can see JavaScript, React, React Native, Python, Go, or Unity. So let's say I'm working in a React project. Then based on all of the extensions on my contract, it gives me all of the different hooks to interact with my contract easily from a front end without having to do all the overhead myself, such as writing Merkle trees and Merkle roots and all of that kind of rubbish that, you know, hundreds of lines of code down to like 4. So you can see that that's super easy. And then in the Explorer tab, I can see all the read and write functions if I wanted to interact with the contract myself. The Events tab allows me to see all of the events on the contract. And then Sources allows me to see all of the source code for this specific contract. So you can see all of the extensions that we have, like in Lazy Mint and Drop on this contract. And then Drop ERC 721 is the exact contract which is implementing all of those extensions. So if you wanted to go in and see how this contract was actually working, you can do that here. And then an easy way to embed your contract into your front end is by using this little pre-built embed component. So I can just modify the component here. So I can set it to like dark mode or something like that. And then I can just copy this code to my clipboard, and then I can just add it into a front end. Super nice and easy. Don't have to write all of the code myself. So yeah, so that's pretty much an overview of what we do for NFT Drop. And yeah, let me know if there are any questions.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Kiara. I believe the claim issue was a dashboard bug, but still, like the contract was deployed, and the claim, you would still be able to claim it directly from the contract or with the ThirdWeb SDK that you showed us in the overview page. Thank you very much. Let's see what questions do we have right now. So also, if anybody has questions, we are now doing Q&A. What courses would you recommend for beginner developers? Where to start self-taught? Can you advise some good resources? I would advise, if you're a beginner in coding, I would advise you to go to ThirdWeb. There are some nice tutorials on the ThirdWeb website. You can access them very easily. Kiara, if you want to show the tutorial section, it would be great.
Yeah, let's see if there's an easy way to go from the portal. Hang on. Okay, hang on, we're just going to go directly to YouTube. 2 seconds. So we've got ThirdWeb on YouTube with all of these tutorials. And then the other one, which is super useful if you prefer more written content, we have all of these guides. And then I believe there is one on.
We can leave this we can leave this link in the comments so that people can see it. And if you want to become more advanced in Web3 development or blockchain development, I'm talking EVM, of course. You can try to look into contracts if you have some development experience. If you like know how to read code, how to look at code, how to deploy code, you can look at some of the very basic contracts like the ERC20 token. You can do a hello world, deploy it. It's actually much easier than you would expect. There's a lot of tutorials out there. If you Google for them, like how to deploy your first smart contract, you would be able to deploy it. And then right after, for example, you deploy an ERC20 token, for example, you can try to interact with it from a front end, like make a small transfer button. That's how you would basically learn by yourself. Once you have some experience to deploy a smart contract, once you know how to deploy a smart contract, and once you know how to interact with it, you can start to actually learn some more intermediate concepts, intermediate contracts, like bigger contracts. Maybe you can write a code or that implements an ERC 721 token, which is an NFT. But of course, much more simpler than the one we saw here. You cannot just jump straight into writing this from scratch. But
we could,
because we're lucky, ThirdWeb offers like the whole package, the whole contract with the whitelist, with the deploying the images to IPFS from within the interface.
If there's time, we could go through how to sort of using the Solidity SDK, getting a little bit more into it, making a customization, how you would do that. I don't know if there is time, but
sure, we can do that quickly.
Okay, well, let's see how quickly I can do this. So if I go to my terminal, I am going to just navigate into a little repo, into a folder. And then to make a contract with ThirdWeb, it's really easy because we've got a nice little command line tool. So it's just npx ThirdWeb create contract. So easy to remember. And then this is going to basically give me a little flow to create a contract. So sure, let's call it ThirdWeb contracts. I'm going to use Forge or Foundry because I don't know, I've never used Hard Hat in my life. I started with Foundry and I will never ever use anything different unless something else more glittery comes along. But yeah, so that's just like your tool in which to like create your contract. So yeah, let's build in ERC 721. And this is like to do with the extensions, like I was talking about earlier. So you could add signature minting, allowing people to claim based on like custom conditions. Sorry, mint based on custom conditions. Lazy mint, which is what we were kind of looking at earlier. Drop was what we were looking at earlier, actually, but lazy mint is sort of like that, but without the extra stuff. I don't really know how to explain that. So let's do what we were doing earlier. Let's select drop. So what this is going to do is it's just going to create a little repo. It's going to build the contracts for me. But that will basically just mean that I can see all of the code myself and then make modifications, overrides if I choose to do that. So let's just open this up in a code editor so that we can have a little look. Hopefully you can see that. So if we open up the source folder and then open up my contract, you can see this contract here is inheriting from the base contract ERC 721 drop. So I am just going to run Foundry up and Forge install just to install all of the dependencies and make sure that I've got the latest version of Foundry. And then I don't know where the Forge install. Okay, and then what this means is that it means that I can inherit all of the functionality from ERC 721 drop, but if I wanted to customize it, I can do so. So I could just go in here and be like function mint, and then I could do like override, and then override to add any extra custom functionality in the docs in Portal. If I head back over to Portal, if you head to Solidity SDK, then you can see all of the contracts here. And if we head to ERC 721 drop, then you can see all of the different functions that are available to override on that contract. So if I wanted lazy mint to work slightly differently, then I can do so. I could add an extra condition in here or a modifier or something like that. But if you don't have as much experience, it basically just means that all of the base logic is handled for you. You don't need to learn. You can go in and learn how to do that yourself if you wish to, but it's all kind of, you've got that security that it's done properly for you already. These are pre-audited and gas optimized. So let's say I've made some modification. To deploy this contract, all I need to do is run npx ThirdWeb deploy. So normally what you would have to do is you would have to have your private key exported, you would have to have your RPC URL set up. It's not very secure, and you would have to handle all of that yourself. It's not the best way of doing things. So by running deploy, ThirdWeb deploy, this means that we're going to deploy through the front end. We're going to deploy on the client side using our wallet rather than using our private key. So I hit enter. Then hopefully, if this works correctly, it will detect the project type, which is Foundry. It's now going to compile my project and then allow me to select which contract I want to deploy. So my contract, and it's going to upload this contract data and hopefully pop up a browser tab for me to input my constructor params and deploy to the blockchain. So you can see that if I wanted to add any overrides or extra functionality, it would be super easy to do so, and also super easy to deploy. So you don't always have to use the pre-built contracts. They're there if you want to use them. But if you need to have something extra, also super easy. So this will just take a little minute because we automatically verify your contracts and upload the metadata to IPFS. So, this is on a different window, which is really useful. So here you can see the contract, it's detected the extensions, and then allows me to, as before, enter the, oh gosh, let's just call it 721. Enter the constructor parameters. I can select Metis again, testnet, and then it will deploy the contract again and add it to my dashboard, the same as before. So that is just like a little demo of how you could get into the source code yourself and deploy from source. You can run deploy on any contract. There is no setup required. You do not have to have anything installed beforehand. You don't have to have your contract structured a certain way. You don't have to use the Solidity SDK. All of these parts are completely composable. In fact, you don't even have to deploy with ThirdWeb to see a dashboard like this. You can just search any contract name or contract address as long as it's verified, and then you can view your contract from a little dashboard to be able to see all of these different read and write functions and interact from the front end. If it's got 721 on it, you don't have to use our extension. It will still detect it, even if you've just followed the normal interface, and then you'll be able to do all of these lovely things like creating NFTs, etc.
Nice. That's very nice. Thank you very much. Yeah. Here, this is a great place to start. You don't have to even like start from scratch. It will only take you a longer time to like get acquainted with everything. If you want to, of course, like if you want to, you can do it, but it can take a longer time until you develop your first contract or your first like real world contract. So let's see, what other questions do we have? Hope we answered the question. How Metis integrated IPFS? It's kind of file base or Vignata. How to store the files there? So yeah, the thing is, IPFS is not directly connected with the blockchain. It is like if you enter an IPFS URL for on a smart contract, let's say, the EVM cannot see the contents of this of the file at this IPFS address. IPFS is it is a distributed file system, and like it is separate from the Metis or the Ethereum even network. To use it, you can either install IPFS and initialize it, and then like add your files. You can access your files, or you can use a third party IPFS provider like Pinata or I believe there is what were they called? Infura, yeah. For hope we answered this question. Let's move on to the next one. Do your NFT contracts include your royalty? I used a few, and anytime I saw the stroke with some royalty due to use your templates or any additional to use for free. I think Bitcoin Man Talk is asking about if ThirdWeb charges royalty from the deployed contracts.
No, yeah, we don't charge any royalties.
Short answer, no. Next one. What's the IPFS you used to store the images? The IPFS itself, the interplanetary file storage system. But I think I think ThirdWeb hosts their own or runs their own IPFS node to host the files, right?
I'm not exactly sure how the infrastructure works on that sort of side. So I would have to answer that question elsewhere. Maybe Tamina can drop in the chat something on that
Yeah,
side.
the files are uploaded to IPFS.
Yes, they are uploaded to
think
IPFS.
I'm almost sure that the files are uploaded to IPFS, like the global IPFS. The same. Even if you upload the files to IPFS from your computer, they and like you can access them from your node. If you're running an IPFS node, you can access the files from your node, but it's still everybody else can access these files as well. And what about BRC20? No, before that, how to issue token on Metis network without any professionals? We just saw that, I believe, right?
Sorry, what was that?
The question is how to issue a token on Metis network without any professionals.
Without any professionals? What do you mean?
This does not require a professional to deploy it.
No.
We will share the tutorials for how to deploy a token on Metis network in the video description. And I believe it should not require a professional to deploy it.
No, you just deploy the token contract. It's super
click some
easy.
buttons.
It's same as before.
Yeah. Can we get a link to the recording afterwards? I believe yes, you guys will. What about BRC20? I don't think that ThirdWeb works with Bitcoin ordinals right now.
Not right now, to my knowledge, no.
Could I add bulk of properties by the uploading my sheets with attributes? Kiara, do you have an answer for this?
You can bulk upload NFTs, but bulk upload of properties. Let me check that for you.
I believe you can put them in a CSV file and then upload it. There was an option. If you click, there was advanced properties. I think you can upload a CSV file for this.
Sorry, can I jump in? That's correct. On our dashboard docs, you can see how to do that. I'll link it in the chat.
Thank you, Samina.
All right, great. Thank you, Samina. Next question. Do you use proxy contracts?
We do.
Yeah. Do you have a vision to make more user-friendly for green guys? Not familiar with the term green guys.
Green guys, no, that means nothing to me.
What is the difference between developing on Ethereum and Metis? We explained it earlier. I believe it would be a cost for you as a developer, cost for your users of transactions, speed. Of course, we're like much. If you, as you saw here, when you click on deploy contract, it just immediately the contract is successful. On Ethereum, you would have to sometimes like for this contract, I believe you would pay around 2 to 400 the equivalent of US dollars in Ethereum token to deploy this contract. You just deploy it, and then when users claim it, they would each pay $10,000 in $10 in gas fees, approximately, something like this. So the difference here is cost between it would on Ethereum it would cost you so much to deploy the contract, and it would cost your users so much to mint the tokens or to interact with your contract. But on Metis, it's I believe it costs pennies to deploy the contract. And of course, you have us to support you. if you want to, if you have a contract in mind that you want to deploy, if you're learning how to code, you can join also our developers community. You can ask questions, and we will hopefully find an answer for you or have an answer already. It's pretty much the same underlying EVM machine. So the contract that works on Ethereum would work on Metis, but cost, speed, that would be the difference here. Do we have any more questions after difference between Ethereum and Metis? I believe not. We can wait a little bit if anybody wants to ask us something before we go. Once we're gone, we're gone.
If anyone has any questions at a later date, then everyone can feel free to join. I assume you guys have a Discord, Metis Discord or the ThirdWeb Discord, and you can ask questions underneath our YouTube channel if you're watching a video and you have a question. And then lots of the questions will also be answered in the guides and blogs that I was showing you earlier. I will just head back over. So here you can see all of the different guides. There is a guide on how to deploy a contract to Metis, and lots of other different things, including how to write simple contracts, how to do simple modifications, how to use Chainlink, and lots of other different examples. So that's probably a good place to get started if you wanted to just try something out. And also we've got a blog which explains more of the sort of in-depth concepts and things like that, if you would like to get a little bit more into the like how it works and that sort of thing.
All right. I think that's pretty much it. Join our socials, join our channels, ask your questions. We're always available, listening, answering. Oh, we have a final question. Do you have a vision to make it more user-friendly for green guys? I think Metis is extreme. This is an answer from our colleague. Metis is extremely eco-friendly. We don't currently have a paper on that, but almost any rollup is just extremely green. There's not much carbon behind us, and yeah, I hope this answers your question. We are user friendly for green guys. If you mean eco friendly, hope this answers the question. Like I said, join our channels, ask your questions. We are always available. We will help you learn, help you build, and ensure your success. Thank you very much, Kiara, Samina, and Yaroslav for hosting us.